questions from the audience?
We are having issues with the chat app, but we are looking into it. So
Okay.
I will keep you updated.
Okay. No problem.
And we are live. Welcome everyone to this session on Agile project management in Project Online and Project Server. I have with me Alex Rodov, a good friend and Project MVP. He's also a managing partner for Trusted IT Group. And in fact, he has actually been on the road almost every month, presenting all over the country. So I thank him very much for taking the time out to do this presentation. So Alex, take it away.
All right. Well, thanks, Prasanna, for warm introduction. Um, we're, I'm very excited to be here at this virtual event for Microsoft Project Conference, and then Prasanna, that's huge thank you to you personally that for setting this up and organizing all of us MVPs, project leaders, and Microsoft to have that great event so we can share our experience and some of the new things when it comes to Microsoft Project and Project Server and Project Online. Well, again, thanks, Prasanna. Um, so as far as myself, I'm, we're going to be talking about the Agile projects, and that's been pretty much a hot topic or somewhat hot topic in almost any organization. So everyone is talking about Agile. Everyone is kind of moving or looking at least into getting their project management processes aligned with the Agile framework. So in this regard, we in the Trusted IT Group we put together a lot of thoughts about how can we actually implement something like Agile projects within Project Server and Project Online. So, and that's something that we're going to be talking about today. So feel free to grab a cup of coffee. Sit back, relax. We'll get. I hope that this hour will be enjoyable for you as it is for myself. All right. So some of this information is basically intellectual property of trusted IT group. So please be cautious of be mindful of sharing that outside. And obviously you can share. It's just saying that some of this information is belongs to the trusted IT group. That's what we were trying to say. Something, some keywords about us as a company. We're fully, we're a full PPM partner of Microsoft, and we implement project and project server. We do consulting services. We do trainings, and we do have some of the products that we develop that complement project server and project online. So there's a list of clients, and we've been established in 2008. So that's been quite a journey for us as a company. And here's the some things about some of the agenda outline. The Agile project management. We'll be talking about some of the principles of the Agile. Not spending too much on that. We're going to talk about the Scale Agile framework or as an example of the, getting the Agile into enterprise and scaling it out to the enterprise, because the project server and project online are the tools that are meant to be for scaled, larger organizations, and how we can actually keep everything consistent, and as well as keeping things in agile and in the iterative mode. Then we're gonna talk about the framework that is basically the framework that sits on top of Microsoft Project Server or Project Online, which is 6TM. And how is that organized to manage those scaled and agile projects as well as the waterfall projects? And we're going to be spending some time on the reports. on reports and dashboards. How can we report some of the Agile project status, progress, or epics or features, as well as waterfall projects, and how those two worlds basically will come into one page on the report. I know it's kind of interesting. It's got 12% and 38%. So we're here pretty much very precise in how we do business. So yeah, we're making the project management, almost like exact science to a degree. So wherever we can. So please follow follow the follow the slides. Some of the business challenges. Many of you have seen this slide already. But that's basically outlining the key challenges. That number one, teams are everywhere. People working from home, people working from different offices. We need to be able to collaborate with them efficiently. So that's number one challenge that is addressed in the solution, and not just the Agile framework, but overall in Project Server and Project Online, we know that there's a pretty much enhanced capabilities of collaborating within the team. And number two is I need the we need the flexibility in the infrastructure costs, and now we talk about cloud. We talk about resilient cloud, so we can scale out our teams, our project number to any number basically these days if we're dealing with the resilient cloud, or just a cloud. And in this particular case, we are talking about the project online. The project server on premises will be basically limited to that very infrastructure within on premises. But here we are looking at project online as as a locomotive of basically the developments of the future, right? So we're looking at scaling out in the future without putting anything down as far as money or time or investment. Um, the other thing is the competes with the line investment and business priorities. We need to be able to understand whether this is Agile project or this is waterfall project. We need to understand how our investments, basically these are investments, how these investments are aligned with our business strategies, our business priorities, with our business imperatives. So we're looking at putting everything consistent consistent system of records, where we can actually put apples to apples and say, okay, well, this is X amount of dollars that's going to be spent on the next 3-4 quarters for the next year, and then how we align that with our strategy of the company. So we'll be able to do some of that. And of course, visibility. We need to know where things, what's what, where things are. We need to understand who is working on which project. We need to understand the resource capabilities. We need to understand, what projects are, in the pipeline. And that sometimes that simple question is very hard to answer. So I'm going to spend too much time on this slide because we want to really get into some of the demo. So Agile and Waterfall. Here's the you can see that Agile attributes like a backlog, sprint, teams, product, Scrum. You will see you may hear a lot of different words. It's kind of being standardized at this point, but it's not really standardized because again, this is not necessarily exact science. But you can see a lot of different attributes, and we will be grabbing some of them to kind of lock them down in our framework, and we'll talk about it later. And of course, waterfall, just streamlined approach. You have your sequential phases of doing things. Next one, so Agile project investment. So here's the example of the simple Agile project investment. So we start doing the work, over time. That's pretty simple, and we're moving somewhere. And then at some point we hit the change where the product owner is going to say, well, priorities has changed, and we need to not do this feature within next sprint. We're gonna change it a little bit, and we're gonna basically change our course of action, and kind of book that amount of work for the next period of time, for the next sprint. And then we hit another change, and then we correct the course of action, and then we hit another change. So we keep keep adjusting to the market, or we keep adjusting to some external impacts, external changes, or internal changes, or as a matter of fact, any change that comes with the market, with the product owner, with anything. And then we basically adopt into that change efficiently, and then we actually move on and keep delivering until the product is done, right? What happens when we're dealing with the waterfall project? And I'm not saying this is a bad or good. I'm just saying that what happens and how that waterfall project would react to those type of changes, comparing to the Agile project. So the waterfall well, this is the yellow line is the Agile that we just looked at, and then the blue line is basically the way we start in the very beginning. This is the waterfall project. We start. You see the blue arrow here. We start the project. We start doing the work, and that's the direction where we should go, right? And we keep doing the work. We keep doing the work. We hit the change. And what happens with the waterfall project, we don't necessarily react to the change as quickly as Agile project. We would still probably go through some formal change request or governance within the project, which tells us that we need to, there's a major change or not major change in the project, and we need to file a change request, we need to route that through approval process, yada yada yada. So until we know it, we spend another 2 weeks, on the same, working on the same, direction, but having in mind that change that happened earlier. But then there's another change. So anyway, what I'm trying to say here is that the waterfall projects don't react to change as quickly as Agile projects, and that's kind of sort of obvious. That's the concept, right? The Agile would do everything quickly. We change, we adopt, we're flexible. In waterfall fashion, we plan ahead of time. So therefore, we don't really react to change as quickly as Agile project, and that's pretty much standard. But what you're looking at is basically, if you look at the amount of work that needs to be done by the amount of work that needs to be done by the Agile project team, which is basically the square footage of that area underneath, right? And then if you look at how much more work will be done, assuming the same amount of change will happen. How much more work will have to be done by the waterfall team? This is basically the square footage on that purple square area, square footage on the top of that Agile square footage. So you can see that net you would spend probably more time and more investment will have to be made into the waterfall project to accommodate a lot of changes like this, like we have here. For example, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To accommodate these 5 changes, the Agile teams would be able to spend less time on that, as opposed to the waterfall project. All right. I mean, this is something that I wanted to outline. And when sometimes people say, "Well, it's good to have Agile, not good to have Agile," it's good to have a mix of both. It's good to have kind of strategic planning. Sometimes for the financial and budgetary purposes, you may have to do some waterfall planning down the road to actually get those budgets approved. But at the same time, with the execution of those projects would be more efficient if you would add a little bit of a waterfall and Agile under one roof, and bring all the slides here and the buckets. And basically, I'm going to talk quickly about this. So we will bring Agile and Waterfall under one roof, and then we are talking about the project portfolio management, and project portfolio analysis, which is on the left side, and the waterfall side of the house, and the agile attributes, which are on the right side of the house: agility, the Scrum, product, the backlog, the features. The list goes on and on. Actually, yeah, there's etc. So, and the collaboration between the two, and resource management is something that is attribute of both, and we're interested in resource management for agile project as well as the waterfall project. The time tracking, we're interested in both. Release management, we're interested in both. So this is something that, and based on my experience with all the organizations we were working with on that Agile framework, there's the waterfall components are inevitable. We have to do the planning. We have to do the strategic, cost analysis and stuff like that. So although Agile is bringing more efficiency, we need to understand how these two will coexist under the same roof. Okay, and that's something that we're going to be addressing in a bit. Some of the principles, that some of the attributes from the Agile framework that we picked up, and we built basically the framework based on these. Sprints. So sprints are basically either 2-week sprints or 4-week sprints or monthly sprints, or sometimes quarterly sprints. Yeah, you'll be surprised. There are some organizations that are doing the sprints quarterly, and then they just take this concept of quarterly planning and quarterly sprints. So regardless of how you do the planning, regardless of how you do the sprint planning, you can have different length, different time, baked into each of these sprints. The point is that you have to have the sprints sequentially set up for all the teams. Okay. So the larger sprints, maybe you don't have, larger sprints, like let's say monthly sprints would have iterations, and within that one sprint you may have 2 iterations. If it's 2-week iteration, or maybe 1-week iteration, it's up to your particular organization to decide, what is the length of that iteration. But the idea is that each sprint would have, or may have, multiple iterations, especially for larger sprints. That would make sense. And of course, if we drill down, so we have sprints, we have iterations, and we have within iteration we have daily Scrum meetings, right? Daily Scrum meetings where you ask a team what's going on, what they're working on, what are those imperatives, and what's done, not done, etc. Right? So that's the concept that we took as, and we thought that that's going to really be applicable to most of the agile organizations. On top of these sprints, there are different flavors of how you want to build that. Either you build epics, you build features, you build projects, you build programs. That's very much configurable and depend on that particular structure. And I will show you the details how we set up the framework to accommodate that, higher level portfolio structure above sprints. Okay. So the sprint cycle in this particular case, we have like 3 months, quarterly sprint, just the largest sprint I ever heard of, and then we have 6 iterations within that sprint. We did the pre-sprint planning and we did the post-sprint evaluation. And then we sometimes move things from one iteration to another, but that's basically the sprint. We plan for that, we execute the sprint, and we evaluate the results after the sprint is complete. Yeah, I'm not gonna spend too much on this. This is something that I wanted to bring up, is the Scalar Edge framework, which our framework is a framework on top of the project server is completely aligned with. We're officially and legally aligned with this particular framework, and this particular framework is meant to be a method of managing agile projects and within the larger organization at the enterprise level. So you see there's different types of backlogs. There's different types of attributes like like Agile release train. So there's emphasis on the release management here. There's emphasis on the continuous releasing and delivering packages of software or packages of product throughout the sprint life cycle. So I mean, there's a lot to it. I mean, I don't the purpose of it's not the purpose of this call to discuss this, but a lot of these things are baked into the framework for Project Server in 6TM. And the key components are the epics prioritization. So we do the prioritizations of epics, which are larger portfolio items, and sprints and teams and backlog items are basically baked into those epics. And we'll get to that when we discuss the framework. All right. Going to get to the next one. So the Agile solution for Microsoft PPM, and we're calling it 6TM. That's basically a framework. A lot of this is configuration. Some of these enhancements are done by by our team adding some of the customizations to the web parts and some of the custom code involved to enhance the user experience of Agile teams. So we are basically looking at pushing this and implementing the framework on top of Project Server or Project Online, and it's completely online. We're not using any Microsoft project templates for that. As a matter of fact, we don't really even need Microsoft project to accommodate to be compliant with this framework. Everything is done online. The purpose of this is to keep it easy, to make it easy for Agile teams to conduct their Scrum meetings. So there's a task board where I will be demoing some of the capabilities of the task board. You get the Scrum meeting, you push things, move things, drag and drop it to from status to status, or from iteration to iteration, or from backlog back to the backlog. All these capabilities are included, so it's easy for Scrum Masters to conduct their Scrum meetings. So they spend like 5-10 minutes with the team, and they're done with the status. So I'll move on this one, and so there's some modules that are baked into the platform, into the framework, the epics prioritization. And let me actually start talking about this one. So the epics prioritization, this is where you would assemble your epics, and as a matter of fact, and some of the waterfall projects that are sitting outside of the Agile, circles, but you would like to run your analysis, for the organization by having the mix of the epics as part of the Agile, as well as the waterfall projects, and you would like to put them in the mix and see, what kind of dollars and cents, it will roll up to, and see whether you have budget to do these projects, whether they are waterfall or Agile, right? From the financial perspective, for dollars, it doesn't matter whether it's waterfall or Agile. So this is the opportunity to kind of keep all these different type of projects into under one portfolio analysis roof, where you can actually run through some scenarios. You can run some constraints. In this particular case, it's like $4.5 million for these particular projects. That we can change the number and recalculate and see what are those projects will be kicked in or kicked out based on the strategic value of those projects. So, I mean, we have a series of webinars within our company that we conduct, and we explore, these particular topics in greater detail. So feel free to subscribe to our mailing list, and we'll be happy to share the schedule for those upcoming webinars. As far as the backlog and stories, That's another module that we are particularly proud of, and that's the heart of the Agile. That's my opinion from the data integrity perspective. So we collect all the stories in one backlog, um, basically a big bucket of stories, and this is where we start building the stories attributes, and we start saying this is the story name, this is the description, this is the attachment to that story, this is the story owner, this is the release number. You can see the release number. There's a priority. You have all kinds of different attributes, and it's easy to add or remove some of these attributes when it comes to the framework configuration. So the particular portions that we're particularly proud of is that we implementing the sequence of the Fibonacci sequence. We're using the Fibonacci sequence to establish the assessment metrics for all these stories, and we allow teams to asynchronously assess and basically do like a pre-grooming exercise of those stories in the backlog, saying that, well, 5 stars is the most complex, 2 stars is somewhat complex. So the more stars you have, the more complex the story is, and you see that the 5 stars on average will give us 13 Fibonacci points, right? And the scale. So the more complex the story, the higher the number of that points will be assigned to that particular story. But that's something that we're proud of to a degree, where the teams from all over the world, they don't have to be on that grooming exercise meeting, or they have to they could be anywhere, and they can vote for the story complexity, and then it will be suggested that this is like 13 points or 8 points or 3 points or 5 points. I'm sure that the Scrum teams will appreciate that flexibility. And the concept of team rooms. So we have team rooms. So in the organization, in an organization, there's many different teams. So we set up 5 teams, 10 teams, 20 teams, 100 teams. It's whatever the number of teams that we got to set up, we set up, and each team would have a team room. And once we get into the team room, we're getting into the into the current sprint, and where we can see the future sprints and and past sprints. So this particular slide is talking about the timesheet, and what I'd like to put the emphasis here is that this timesheet would include both waterfall and agile tasks or top-level project line items where you can book your time, report your time for both, for waterfall and agile projects, which in the end of the day will give you the statistics and all kinds of resource management metrics that allow you to understand how much time is spent on agile projects and how much time spent on waterfall projects. Not to say it's going to be broken down in greater detail by project, so you would know which exactly what exactly those projects are. So that's something that gives you quite a bit of a flexibility to understand how team workload is distributed, as opposed to the plan, right? So you may plan that we're gonna have 40-60 ratio for agile versus waterfall, but having those timesheets filled out, having the more detailed information, the actual information will give you how are you really um, doing that comparing to the plan. All right, so and here's the drag and drop task board. I have a video um, embedded here using the Office Mix. Used Office Mix to put this into, and I found it pretty cool. So here's a video going to play, and I'll be talking. So we can select multiple tasks on the task board, and then reassign it to, let's say, Fred, right? And you see all these tasks across multiple stories are assigned to that new person. So we go and check, and then we can just move one story to in progress, and then we can move stories to different iteration or move it back to the backlog. So all these functionalities is out there for Scrum Master, for team members. If they have rights to update the sprint, they can do it themselves. So there's pretty straightforward, and you see there's a concept of Agile of not having dates or not having estimations in front of them other than the Fibonacci points, right? See the stories have these Fibonacci points association. You can right there create a new task, and then I'll be showing you that in live demo. This is just a quick glimpse of the task board. As far as the resource management, you can see on the right side we selected some of the folks to understand what their availability and assignments are, and we see that the teams are overbooked with basically like 2.5 times or almost like 3 times overbooked over this particular period of time from August to September. That was a should probably look at the future, but that was it was set up in August. So anyway, but the picture is telling us that teams are overbooked, and we can see these are the projects. These are the projects: Epic 1, Program 1, Team 1, Program Increment 4, and Waterfall Project 1. So we can see that these particular team members booked for these projects, and there's a mix of Waterfall projects and the Agile project. We can see that there are two of them. These two Agile and Waterfall projects will contribute to the overall resource pool data, which would be presented, which could be presented in this way as a one report for both Waterfall and Agile, and we can go quite a bit of a check and check here and refresh, and this data is all dynamic. You can put the different parameters here to kind of run this report. And that's pretty much this is standard report. There's nothing custom in here in this report. It's all standard reporting of resource capabilities on this project and project online, on this project server and project online. And these are basically the folks that we selected to run this analysis for. Basically saying this is Alex, John, and Trini, and team one particular team member will be assigned these tasks, and then on that slide we can see which are those projects that these folks are assigned to. Okay, we can look at it by project, or we can look at it by resource. And again, the emphasis here that you can see both assignments, all assignments from Waterfall projects assignments, and Agile projects. And the quick dashboard. There's also a leadership. Start running, so you can see that. You can see that we can pull this dashboard, and that's you can say, okay, show me everything for the sprint 1, and then I can drill through and say, okay, for the sprint 25, what is it assigned to John Smith, and show me everything that he's done and verified. So I can these filters are applying to each other, and then can drill down, and quickly get to the information that we need. Or in this case, I want to see what is it in hit the control button to do in work and done. What is it to do in work and done overall, right? And then define, and then get the list of all the stories and tasks, and I can tell which sprints and epics they're sitting in, and they can tell how much of this is to do and how much of this is done. So we see that we have a lot of yellow space, which is to do, and then a lot of red space, which is defined. So we have a lot of work to do for the selected sprints. We can get some information, and not to say we can get the information about the releases. We can get information about teams, get information about multiple sprints, and waterfall projects. So the options here are basically unlimited. So then the reason is that because we're already collecting the Agile project information, we're already collecting the waterfall project information, and everything sits in the one database where we can pull the data and slice and dice it and the number of ways you can slice and dice it is basically unlimited. And that's one of the examples of how we slice and dice the data for Agile project within our framework. All right. The recent releases of Microsoft been very helpful to get on board with the Power BI, Power BI capabilities and overall business intelligence capabilities, deploying it across multiple platforms. So there's a number of devices, and basically at this point I'm looking at there's all devices possibly that are possibly out there in the market. They're all supporting that Power BI app, and now it's been in preview. It's probably going to be released very soon in production, but it's been in preview and we've been using it successfully by pulling some of the reports into the Power BI using the Power BI app across platforms, whether you're using iPad or iPhone or Android phone or tablet. You would be able to get your Power BI dashboards and reports on your fingertips anywhere, um, wherever you are, and that's pretty cool. I think that's a really a nice breakthrough because again, teams everywhere and executive teams would need to understand, what's going on with their project portfolio, or project managers are traveling. They would want to see what's going on with their projects on the go. So that's a pretty cool addition to the framework. So what's next? Here I was going to get into a quick demo of 60M, just to kind of show you that we're actually we're actually having that wrapped up and ready. So this is the live project online, and there we have the portfolio prioritization where we have a number of things that um, we can work with in the prioritization. Uh, here, that was, yeah. There's portfolio prioritization. So we can run different scenarios like $2.7 million scenario, or cut resources or hire more resources type scenarios. So we can run different scenarios, put this in front of us within in our steering committee or on our board meeting, and have those scenarios laid out where you actually have the meaningful data in front of you, and it's not just a PowerPoint slide where you think or you have some reports up there, but there's real there was a real math and quantification of strategy and portfolio items into some meaningful reports, and then I'll be happy to get you through that particular topic within our webinars schedule. So, and here we do the epic prioritization and waterfall prioritization, a series of waterfall projects here, and then we have agile projects here, and agile projects would be expand that waterfall section. You'll see that the waterfall projects and agile projects and epics, and that's what sprints. Sprints or program iteration, that's based on which framework you're using for your portfolio. Here we have the backlog. Again, the backlog where you would be able to create a new backlog item. On a new item, you can create the name of the story and the description, create attachment. Put the release number. Basically, when you add a new story, or you can import number of stories from Excel. You don't have to use this form, but the idea is to have the stories be added to this form, and then you fill it out, and then there's a star rating, right? So I vote for this one as 5, so it changed to like 3.5. So the 2 people voted for this one. It takes the average and then assigns the Fibonacci points based on that average. Um, the others would be the team rooms. Go to the team room. I have my team rooms, and I get to my team room. where I can see the current task board, the current sprint. Um, this particular one is checked out to Daniel, so I can not update any of these stories and just get to the other project that I already have opened, that I can basically do a lot of drag and drop, move the story, look at the different iterations, look at the velocity here. So the velocity is the 26 out of 54. It means that I have I have assigned overall 26 Fibonacci points to my sprint, and based on my average velocity, it says that my team can handle 56 Fibonacci points per sprint. So it means that I have about half of the sprints that I can still load into my sprint from the backlog. So I can use this feature to import from backlog and add more stories from the backlog. I can basically create a new task and say new task, and then put a description, and then assign it to someone. Click and save, and there's new task is over there. Then I can, this assigned to Fred. I want to assign it to Charles, or or to look at during a Scrum meeting. I want to do team by team, team member by team member. Say, Fred, what are you working on? Click on that and show me all the Fred's stuff. What George you're not working on anything? Oh, okay. So maybe we should assign it to you then. We go and assign it to George. And then George, oh, you have these two now. Okay, so you can quickly get through the Scrum meeting from in here within your iteration. Look at the velocity, add more tasks, or for that matter, move it from iteration to iteration, or move it back to the backlog. Right, this whole thing will just go back to the backlog. So it's all drag and drop, and then most importantly, it's well, as soon as you assign these folks to these tasks for the sprint, you would start having those resource utilization reports to reflect these changes, and you would, because each iteration would have a time slot that it's booked for. I mean, for the Scrum teams, they're not really interested in understanding what's the time slot, or what's the deadline, or what's the hours, or are we late or not late. This is where the portfolio managers or project managers will need to think about. But as far as the team and focus on the work, they're interested in on their own plate, and that's what's in front of them. And we having this done or not done. So what we're focusing on pushing this pushing this to done, and to publish this before it takes effect. So that's what the focus. Keep it very simple, make it drag and drop easy to manage, get over with in like 2 minutes, in 5 minutes, whatever, and then be done with it. So that is the concept. Um, there's also a concept of let me show the dashboard into switch to that HTML5. So in the dashboard, I can say, for example, release. I want to do some of the release management report. So I want to say, okay, show me everything that is pertaining to release one, and then it's going to show me what is it in release one. It have new tasks there in the release one, and they're all not done. So there's unassigned resource. So I need to understand. So there's Sprint 33 and then Epic One, Program One, Team One. I get these two folks who can chase them down and see why you're adding more tasks, new tasks to release one. It's about to be released, so we can't afford that. There's something going on there. Or show me the release two. Right? There's also two new items. Well, the reason because we don't have many releases assigned to tasks, but we have tasks that are not release relevant. So maybe some enhancement that needs to be done anyway. The point is that you can drill to information pretty quickly. If I remove this filter, I want to say, okay, what is it Alex working on? Oh, okay, Alex is have all these sprints, over the time assigned, to as part of this team, and he has all these sprints, all the stories and tasks, and then what's new, for Alex. And you click on that, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 4, and 6 tasks are new. So I can quickly get to this information using the dashboard. All right. So as far as we would typically do is kind of running from I'll start from the beginning. So what we would typically do, let me just scroll down to the very end. What we typically do now is basically what we're saying is this whole concept of having agile and waterfall projects, and and we want to emphasize that people and process and tools are very important to keep in mind when we implement something like that. The methodology and framework is good. Uh, However, the understanding how it's adopted amongst people, do we have enough processes in place, and discipline around those processes, and of course the tools. This is where we would come into play and say, okay, well, this is something that we have in our arsenal to support the process and people, where we would be able to kind of wrap it around the framework and make it a success, make it a successful organization. So yeah, I mean at this point, just checking my timing here. We're 10 minutes before the end of the hour. Um, Prasanna, are you there? Do we have any questions? Or I mean, I wasn't looking at the chat window. If you have the chat window there.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. So yeah, we are having some issues with the chat, but there are some questions coming in.
Okay.
So just to ask the question that people have been asking. So this is a tool that has been built on top of Project Server or Project Online, completely custom, right?
Yeah, well, I would say if you the first answer, the quick answer is yes. When you say completely custom, I would say yes, it is custom solution. If you ask me like how many, how much of this that I showed you is custom versus configuration, I would say it's probably 30% custom and then 70% configuration. So a lot of this been built in mind to be able to be adjusted and configured based on the organization's needs. Like, so for example, the length of those iterations, or the length of the sprints, the hierarchy of portfolio items above the sprints, like epics, features, etc. Um, like the number of statuses. Like right now we have like new, in progress, and done. I've had organizations that ask me to do like 8 or 7 different statuses throughout the story life cycle. So we had this build in mind to be able to be flexible and not changing the code as much.
Very good. Okay, I think that answers the question. So the other question that has come up is, so how do users subscribe to this? Is it something they purchase and install it on top of Project Server, or
Yeah, well, that's something that purchased outside of the project server and project online. So
Mhm.
there's a free trial available, and after the free trial, there's a setup fee, and then there's per month per user cost, which I think it's at this point is $3 per user per month. Good.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay, very good. So I think that's it, Alex. There were more questions coming in. We are having some technical issues with the chatting app, but we are looking into it. So for people who are posting questions and not seeing them online, we apologize for that. Alex has provided his contact information, so if there are any questions, you could actually contact him directly. He could probably give you more information. And this recording will also be available on demand so that you can come back and watch it. Um, so with that, Alex, did you have anything else to add?
No, I think your just the schedule of this conference is pretty intense. I will give 7 minutes back to everyone's life and hope that you will you will enjoy some break between sessions, Prasanna.
Uh, yes, I think that will help everyone. All
Yeah.
right. All right. Thank you, Alex. Thanks for the presentation and taking the time out. So we will see you pretty soon.
All right. Yeah. Well, thanks everyone.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye now.